All right. Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it. So, again, I'm Jess. My pronouns are she, they. And I'm coming to you from the National Farmers Union of Ontario. Um, and I just wanted to let you guys know where I'm coming from. I come from the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Anishinaabe peoples. And that's within Williams Treaty Territory, what some know as York Region in Ontario. And we're talking about land access because I am the land access coordinator and the connection with the land. So I just two questions that I always start with and ask myself that help me to move just beyond that, preliminary acknowledgement that I also like to share with folks in case it's helpful for you. I always ask myself, how have I connected with the land today? Like, have I gone outside? Have I touched the soil? Have I touched the water? Did I acknowledge, the trees and the birds? And if not, can we make a plan to do that today? Um, yeah, so I'm always looking for birding trails nearby. So there's my self-serving question of the day. If anyone knows of any in New Brunswick, LinkedIn, that would be appreciated. And the second question I always ask myself, for settlers, what does it mean to be a treaty person? We're all treaty people. Have we read the treaties or reread them lately? At the very least, have we read the one that we're, living within? And do we have a clear understanding of our responsibilities as treaty people? So these are just some of the questions I like to share and I use to check in with myself as well. It's been just over a year since I joined the NFU-O. I just realized, am I supposed to just introduce myself and then talk about my stuff later? Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's been just over a year since I've joined the NFU-O. So a lot of the work that I'll be talking about was started, by staff members, by farm members, and not just that, but by some incredible communities outside of the organization. Black, Indigenous, people of color, immigrant communities have been talking about relationships with the land. So I just wanted to send my gratitude to all of these people before me. And then access needs, sometimes I talk too quickly. So if you guys need me to slow down, if I'm too quiet, if you need to go back to a slide, just feel free to let me know. Just shout at me. That's okay. Okay. So just some context, what we already know. Canada's agricultural industry is rooted in settler colonialism. We know that. It was established on the oppression and dispossession of Indigenous people, while stolen land was offered to settler families as a colonial strategy. So we have to acknowledge that and the systems that landless farmers exist under today are the same systems meant to serve the settler colonial entities and to take the power away from local communities and oppress, equity deserving folks and farmers. Farmland is wildly unaffordable, which means those who come from historically marginalized communities have no access to, generational wealth or who don't inherit farmland. They face increased barriers such as anti-Black, anti-Indigenous, anti-immigrant racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism. These folks are fighting for access through a multitude of layers of oppression. So accessing affordable farmland means sometimes moving away from our communities, bringing our families out to places that might not be safe for them, all while fighting to stay alive financially, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So, we talk about going out into rural areas and being open to joining the community. But I guess my question is, are the communities actually safe and open to us being there? In some ways, yes. And then also in many ways, no, not really. So just wanted to balance that question a little bit. And we know when farmers have, stable access to farmland, we're able to put the sustainability of the land, the water, communities, our personal health ahead of immediate revenues. So we talk a lot about farmer mental health. And, I can talk to someone on the phone all day, but at the end of the day, we need stable access to farmland to be able to do what we need to do and to have peace of mind. So a little bit about what's been done and what we're working on with the National Farmers Union Ontario. We recently released an alternative land access guide, and I've put the QR code on there if anyone does want to check it out. It's also on our website under the resources section. And essentially, we know that traditional leasing models don't work or a lot of it doesn't work for supporting smaller scale, diverse, and localized agriculture. There's lots of frustrations from folks over housing and wasted, short-term lease investments. Like, do we actually want to build a greenhouse on here if we don't know if we'll keep it? We'll keep the land. And then also challenging relationships with landowners. Sometimes there's, conflicts can come up. So how can we look at other creative solutions? That's why we put together this resource. So just a little bit of, information on farming on public lands, on cooperative models or agricultural land trusts, and even community farms. So feel free to check out that resource. We're also working we have a land access coalition. So essentially, this was actually created by EFAO and Angel Beta. And we have approximately 42 members made up of about 21 organizations. And we meet 2 to 3 times a year. And this is just folks in Ontario, but essentially we're tracking what's being worked on policy-wise, what projects are being worked on, and then identifying the gaps and figuring out how we can fill those gaps as different organizations working on land access. Yeah, thanks. So one thing that came out of the Land Access Coalition is this policy recommendations document for Ontario. So I've thrown up the QR code as well. So if you're interested in seeing some of the recommendations, just going over a few of the ones that have been put in there, recommending having an inventory on public farmlands that's transparent for folks to access. Developing land grabbing legislation in Ontario, which is severely lacking right now. And then, providing programming and funding for public landholders to build land access programs for smaller scale farmers. Looking at the lease agreements and creating long-term lease agreements and affordable housing on or near the farm. And then also housing, we know, is a big issue for folks who are smaller scale, who need to access the farmland more often. So allowing landholders to share land with successors to build additional comfortable housing on the property is another big issue that we're looking at. And diving a little bit deeper into land grabbing legislation, Ontario urgently needs our own land grabbing prevention legislation. Other provinces have some in place that we can use as models. Quebec's Bill 991, Alberta's Bill 206. These are all things we can look at and also go beyond. We have so many people, like so many interests, like private pension plans and investment funds that are grabbing up land and making it impossible for farmers to actually access it, especially new farmers. This is actually a screenshot of a map on our website. So sort of a tool to identify different farmland protection campaigns in Ontario. So we're looking at, farmland that is being threatened, or farmland that has been permanently lost, or is semi-protected but is sort of not very stable at the moment. So whenever we hear of campaigns around the area, we try and put that on the map just so that we know, what does that look like in Ontario right now? What's happening? Who can we support, and how we can support as well. So if there's petitions or any rallies, we put that on there as well. So if that's something that you're interested in helping out with, please feel free to check that out. One example, Phil actually already mentioned this one, is in Clearview Township. The Department of National Defense has purchased 288 hectares of prime farmland. And there's also environmental concerns with that as well. They're trying to build a Arctic over the horizon radar preliminary site. So we're just trying to support campaigns like that. And I know James has also been in conversation with this campaign. Current project, we have a non-family transition toolkit that we're working on for Ontario. So this is an adaptation of Young Agrarians BC document. So really excited to be able to work on this. And essentially it helps retiring farmers and new farmers to look at different creative models for how to transition farmland when there's no family successor. And, we have a few case studies, not a lot, because there are a lot of barriers, unfortunately. But we also have a lot of retiring farmers and new farmers that are ready to make this happen. So some examples we're looking at, phased sales, shared ownership, maybe rent to own, agricultural easements, land back, things we haven't, done enough research on, but there's opportunities there. We also are looking into creating a public landholders guide. I think there's a lack of information on that. I just want to give a shout out to Manish, who's pushing a lot of this work forward, and Chadwick, who's shared a lot of his experiences farming on public lands, on NCC, National Capital Commission lands. We really need networks of farmers on public lands who talk to each other, who can provide support and demand better and fairer leases that actually reflect the needs of new entrant farmers and smaller scale farmers. So some examples of the public landholders that we're looking at: National Capital Commission in Ottawa, and then also an exciting development of the Rouge National Urban Park. We recently had a victory where the Duffins Rouge Agricultural Preserve was formally added to the Rouge Park. And shout out to Jen as well, who did a lot of work on that. So yeah, we have a lot of projects going on, and a lot of work between NFU and NFU-O that I appreciate. And then I'll just end that. No. I just had one last slide, but it's okay. My last slide was just, it's talking about needing to look at things systemically. So in every movement, we have to balance meeting the immediate needs with creating systemic change. So our programs and projects are so important, but we have to look simultaneously at the systems that are actually causing these issues, and just never taking our eye off of those in power and the systemic conditions that they've created that cause these higher level problems. So how do we make sure that we hold them accountable while also meeting the immediate needs of land access? And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.